because I remember when it came down the wire, I'm not sure whether it was yourself or Matt, but I remember it was either one of you guys that sort of hit me up and said, "Hey, just letting you know." And I think it might have been you actually, and you texted me and you said, "Hey, I've just found this out. Pete's gone." And I went, "What?" And you said, "Yeah, he passed away yesterday." And I think I wrote back to you like, "What the fuck?" Like, and I thought it was, I don't know, like I didn't know what to think. Obviously didn't think it was a joke because no one would joke about that. But I just thought, what is happening? And then that's when I immediately rang Cobra, who was the boss of Venom Pro Wrestling, and I said, "Dude," and I was just on the cusp of booking for those shows at that time. And we were leading into a creative, like we're doing consistent month-to-month storylines, and I rang him as soon as, I think either that afternoon or maybe the next day, and I said, he goes, "Hey man, what's up?" And I said, "Dude," I said, "I don't know if you've heard, this has just happened. We are paying tribute at the start of the show." And he straight away, he went, "Okay." And I went, "It's not kayfabe, it's definitely not a fucking angle." I said, "I want to get all the guys out there." I said, "I'll do up the graphic on the screen." I said, "I don't want the show to start because I don't want it to be a part of the show because I felt like that would be intrusive and disrespectful." So we had the graphic come on, we had the whole roster come out, we had the guys that started in IPW that weren't there at the time, they were in the ring. So the guys of like Peter O, Lynx, Renegade, myself, Tim, Cade, Sebastian Matters, things like that. The guys that had started that had left for one reason or another, we all stood in the ring. I said some words, Lynx Lewis said some words, we bowed our heads for a 10 bell, and it wasn't until the end of the show when I'm sort of doing the rounds and taking photos with fans, selling some merch, whatever, that Sweet Ass and JC Ace had come up, and they were like, "Yeah man, we've been here, we thought we'd just come down on a whim, and we're really glad you did that." Now I had no idea that they were going to be there, but I knew that given everything that Hawk had done for me, the way that things had went down, I didn't hold any grudges, but I knew that if it wasn't for him, without question, if it wasn't for him making that leap, making that jump in 1998, 1999, whatever it was, and going, "Hey, I'm going to start wrestling up here," at the tip of the iceberg, man, we wouldn't be sitting here right now doing this. No. And a lot of us wouldn't have had the careers we had. So I knew straight away, I was like, at that point, I wasn't allowed to come home just yet. Everything was still a bit fresh, a bit raw. But I was like, hey, this has to be done. No questions asked. It just has to be done. Yeah. And Cobra was great. He was like, "Yep, let's do it. No questions." He's like, what? He was shocked as well. But we're doing it. And it was done. And then we did, with respects, similar vibe. Probably not to the same extent as IPW, naturally, because that is home. Yeah. That's where it all began. But we felt a similar resurgence down there at Venom at that time. The locker room, especially, not so much the guys that came after Hawk or didn't know him, but very much so the guys that had started with Hawk and IPW. Yeah. We kind of created a little huddle in the locker room. We grabbed some chairs, we put our gear together, we sat down, and I just remember all of us just sort of sitting there quietly and just, periodically looking up at each other and sort of just literally not knowing what to say. But we were all thinking it like, what? Yeah. It wasn't what the fuck, it wasn't what the hell, it was just what? Like, what? Like, what? Like, and we all just sort of looked around and there was something there. It kind of felt like this aura or this energy struck all the guys that had come through, and we went, without looking at each other, we grabbed some black tape, we put it on our arms, and we're like, "For Hawk." And we just went out there, and like I said, I'm sure the guys outside of the original field, I can totally get it. Like, arguably a lot of the guys on that show, even not knowing him, did it out of respect. They went, "Hey, give me the black tape." Pretty much the whole roster did it, which was insane. Even guys from interstate were like, "Dude, I'll do it." But it specifically hit home for the guys that had come through there, and we just felt that presence. And it was like he was at that show. And I remember coming up to the match, and it was so strange because quite literally 9 years earlier at that Wild and Reckless Junkyard Bash show, where I dropped the cruiserweight belt, which I think was in the Slam Nation belt, to Sebastian Matters. And I had taken 2 weeks off because my muscles and everything was just flaring up and I had to sort of recover for a bit. 9 years later, I'm there at Venom, I'm there in January, and who the fuck am I fighting? I'm fighting Seb Matters. And I looked at him and I went, he fucking planned this. And he's like, yeah, he did. And I was like, he knows this is going to happen. And he's like, yeah, he did. And we went out, did that match, and it just felt like, it just felt natural. It just felt right, and it felt like, I don't know how Seb felt, but I felt being put with him on that show, even though like a month earlier, like I was writing those angles. I was writing like, hey, I'll finish this storyline. Seb comes out. We set up for January. It just felt like this, even if we weren't in this angle, it was the case of, hey, we need to do this.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I remember it being, wrestling just wasn't the same up here for the guys that started with him. How long was it for you where sort of, like, things will never go back to normal, but things sort of felt like the gears weren't running as best they could, but it definitely felt like it was an oiled machine, but it wasn't a well-oiled machine, if you get my drift.
I took...
Were you still out at this point? Like, you had come done the sporadic...
I'd retired at that point, but still training people, and then when the news about Pete came across, I ended up just disappearing. I didn't train people, didn't do nothing until I think it was April.
Right, so you're talking about 3 or 4 months.
I went down to Port. I didn't go to training. I didn't train people. I didn't do nothing because as I said, the guy that I started everything with gone.
Yeah.
And it sounds really weird. The only guy that I had that was like, my parents don't like the fact that I wrestle.
Yeah.
The rest of my family don't like the fact that I wrestle. They think it's stupid. They think it's dangerous. He never forced me to. No, you got to wrestle. You got to do this. You got to do that. He always left it up to you, but he would support you if you needed it.
Yeah.
And he would always, he'd encourage you, but he wouldn't say, you got to do this. You have to.
Yeah, he never forced it on you.
He never forced you to do anything. Or he never forced me to do anything.
Yep.
But he'd give you support and he'd give you encouragement. And he seemed to know when you needed it, when you didn't need it. No, as I said, he never blew smoke up your ass.
Sure.
If it sucked, it sucked.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
What's the thing? Don't be shit.
Yeah.
That was, go there, have a good match, don't be shit.
Yep.
Yeah. He used to do that. And I said, as far as I know, in my mind, he's the only person that actually gave me any encouragement to wrestle. Everybody else everybody who's outside wrestling, you should stop this. This is dangerous. It's a silly sport. You'll get hurt. No. What are you doing this for? I'm doing it for me. I like doing it. It's fun.
Yep.
The idea of, even if the match only goes for 5 minutes, it's 5 minutes you go out there and you're a fucking superhero or a supervillain.
Yeah.
You're a comic book character. You go out there, I rule the universe while I'm here, and then done.
Yeah.
And that's sort of one of the things that sort of Pete tried to put into you, that sort of, when you're out there, you're the centre of the universe.
Yeah.
Everything you do, people are watching. They're watching you do what you do in there. Doesn't matter what you do in your normal life. Out there, you've got people just staring at you, wanting you to do something.
Yep.
And so you go out there and you're trying to amaze people and trying to make them go, woo. That's good, and I like that, and having doing that's all fun. But at the same point, it's also changed.
Yeah.
Like, I still wrestle with the idea. I can still call a match on the fly. As I go, I can come up with what I need to do. Now, the younger generation, the guys that come through now, this is my age showing, everybody. All you young people now need a fucking script with everything written down. From the moment the music hits to the moment the fucking bell rings at the end of the match, you need every single step written out in triplicate to make sure you know what you're doing. If you can't call a match on the fly, you shouldn't be in the fucking ring.
Right.
Mainly due to the fact of, if your opponent, you've got a match worked out. Everything. Every single move, every single step worked out. What if your opponent gets hurt? There was footage I saw on YouTube a couple of years ago, and it was a three-way dance.
Okay.
3 guys in the States. One guy took a bad bump in the beginning, the first little sort of opening part of the match. He took a bad bump, and he ended up unconscious. And when he started coming to, he was concussed. He couldn't even walk. They kept trying to do all the spots with him included in it. And you could see the guy couldn't fucking even move to the ropes.
Right.
But they kept trying to do the match, kept trying to do all the spots. And stupid concussed boy kept trying to do everything. And he ended up getting hurt.
Right.
At those points like that, you need to be able to call shit on the fly.
Sure, yeah.
And that's one of the things that Pete taught me. He taught me a lot of other things, a lot of nasty stuff to do with people in the ring if they give you the shits.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing of being able to call on the fly, like, I'm not going to say, oh, this wrestler, that wrestler, this person, that person.
Sure,
doesn't
yeah.
matter. That's the stuff. But if you can't call on the fly, because you do need to occasionally.
Yeah.
Shit can happen. Someone can get. I was like, my knee blew out. What if that had happened early on in the match?
Yeah.
What do you do then? Yourself, when you had Rembrandt and you hurt your neck.
Yeah.
The rest of that match would have had to have been called pretty much on the fly to end it quick because you were hurt.
Yeah, it was my,
What if Rembrandt didn't have that thinking in his head and went, I've got to still go through all the other sequences, and you can't stand properly, you can't walk properly, you can't see properly, but he keeps trying to do all these weird intricate spots. That's when you end up getting hurt worse. The art of calling on the fly is lost. Yep. Everybody refers too much to the piece of paper with 4,000 moves written on it. And that's the matches that the spot monkeys do.
Yeah.
And it was in a podcast with Piper.
Okay.
And Austin Aries, and he made the reference to referring to spots and things like that as carrots. And he goes, every match has spots. But he goes, nowadays things are getting worse. There are more spots and more spots. So he said, the first match, you got 10 pounds of carrots to eat. Second match, they give you 20 pounds of carrots to eat. And so on and so on and so on and so on. When you get to the main event, why doesn't anybody want to eat your carrots?
Yep.
Because they've just had their full. Every single match has had 4,000 spots in it.
Yep.
And the thing is, the matches that have all those spots in it, all these big moves, all this, people don't remember them.
Sure, yeah.
You probably know yourself that you see this. There's a lot of moves in the match. Can you name 4 of them? No. I remember how it finished. That was it.
Yeah.
And what about the move where the guy ran off the ropes and then he did a springboard and a double backflip and he hooked the guy and reversed it? Oh no, I don't remember seeing that.
Yep.
Well, that sort of shit goes on. You don't remember it, but no, the match beforehand that had 2 major spots in it, you remember both of them. You didn't remember the 80,000 spots in the match afterwards, but you remember the 3 big spots in the match beforehand. Calling on the fly is a dead art.
Yep.
And unfortunately, it's not going to come back. And unfortunately, guys that have been around 20 years like me, we're disappearing. And no matter how hard we try to push that into them, into the next generation, they don't care because they're all, I watch this on YouTube. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I watched all this indie stuff. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, that's great. How many super kicks were in that match? 17.
Yeah.
Wow. How many? There's 20 in this one. And the other thing that shits me off is the slapping.
Yeah.
Everything. Slap.
Yep.
Kick, slap, punch, slap. Clothesline, slap. Slap, slap, slap. I've watched a match where a guy was giving chops to another person and slapping his own fucking thigh as he was doing it to make noise.
Okay.
I'm not naming names, I'm not naming feds, but you're already slapping someone. Why slap yourself?
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't...
Shit like that irritates me.
But what wasn't irritating was the fact that after you took some time off,
yes,
you did finally...
I came back.
And you're still... Well, even though the world situation is what it is right now, you're still technically active in the Home Federation right now.
Yeah. I've done the Honour the Hawk show.
Yeah.
The Christmas Rumble.
Yep.
And then I had the match against non-stipulated, non-sanctioned match against CJ.
Yeah.
I had fun.
Yeah.
I liked that match. And then I had the match against Chad Atlas. Yes.
Yeah,
You're young man, Chad Atlas.
Yes.
Where I slapped him silly.
Yes, thank you for that. I really appreciate you slapping my protege.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
I'll gladly do it again.
Man, speaking of gladly do it again, we've been speaking for X amount of time now. But,
wow, shit.
But, man, I gotta say, given our careers, given the fact that you're my original trainer, everything that I went through on a professional level, with you, without you, man, bringing me back home, hell, I know I'd gladly do it again, for sure.
Yeah.
But as we wrap up this podcast, man, we've been through the history of AsHe, we've learnt how he was created, we've learnt like what you went through, and we've learnt now where you are now. But I'm going to do a segment now called a deep dive, and this is where I ask you some questions that only you can give your unique spin on. So AsHe, are you ready for these unique deep dive questions?
Not really, but go ahead. I wish I had another drink.
What would you tell yourself now if you were just starting out?
Protect your knees more. Definitely.
Okay.
Make sure your boots are tied up.
Yeah.
Don't take so many silly bumps when you start.
Right. No cargo nets?
No, cargo nets are fine because I didn't cop the bad part of that.
Right.
More of just, make sure you always wear knee pads. They're going to give out on you real quick.
Right. Now, you may have answered that already with this next question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What was a turning point in your life, and how did it affect you, and how did you overcome it?
My turning point in wrestling life?
Either wrestling or personal life. Something where you went, hey, this is a make or break situation. I've got to go through it. How did it affect you coming out of it?
Oddly enough, it was actually when I hurt the injury to my eye.
The eye, yeah.
It wasn't due to wrestling or anything like that, because when that occurred, I couldn't... One of the main things was after it healed up was I got told you're not allowed to strain yourself. You're not allowed to force or push or anything of any real exertion because you run the risk of actually bursting your eyeball. Jesus. Okay. So it was that point I've got to think about what I can do here, and it sounds really weird. I couldn't even pick up my kid, my daughter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because she was too heavy to pick up. That would cause strain. And at that point, I think she was only 3 or 4 years old.
Right.
And I couldn't, or told by the doctor not to pick her up and give her a cup. Just
because of the eye?
Because of my eye. Because that would cause... It sounds weird, but when you strain to do anything, you actually put force on the vessels in your eye, and it can cause poppage, apparently. Any exertion.
Man, so that's the advice you had from the doctor regarding your injury, but what is the best advice that you have ever received? Now, it could be either be in your real life or it can be in pro wrestling.
Best advice I've ever received?
Yeah, something that you're like, I'm really going to take that to home. I'm going to use that.
Oh, Christ, no, I can't.
Hang on, wait.
That's easy. Be true to yourself.
Yeah?
Because no one else will be.
How would you define success?
To be happy with what you got and content.
Right.
You can't manage, you can't really say, I got a shitload of money, because you'd be as miserable as hell.
Yeah.
Although money does buy a better class of unhappiness, you can't just be happy with what you got, because you ain't going to get given anything else.
Right. Yeah. No, I completely agree. Alright, this is the part of the podcast now which I like to call the Lipton 6. This is in tribute of James Lipton. He was an American writer, lyricist, actor, and the dean of the Actors Studio Drama School at Pace University in New York City, where he hosted and ran his TV show Inside the Actors Studio from 1994 to 2018. So, in honor and tribute of him, I'm going to ask you his famous 6 questions that he would ask all his guests before wrapping up his interview. So, you ready for the Lipton 6?
Yeah.
Ash, what is your favorite word?
No, I'm not saying that one. No, my favourite word.
There is a question later on.
No, okay, I'm just trying to think. What's my favourite word?
There is one later on where I say, what's your favourite curse words?
Yeah, no, I know about the curse word. I'm just trying to think what's my favourite. Like, I don't have a lot of favourite words that aren't curse words. I love to swear. Yeah, hard it is me not to say F, drop F for C's and things like that doing this. What's my favourite word? Friendship. There you go. Camaraderie.
What turns you on? Now, it could be in the way that you're thinking of, or it can be in the way that, you know, you're excited about something, you enjoy something, like, hey, I like that book.
I
like...
plead the fifth.
Okay, he doesn't want to answer that
I
one.
plead the fifth.
All right. What sound or noise do you love?
What sound or
noise
do I love?
Yeah.
It's the ringing of the bell.
Yeah. What is your favourite curse word?
Okay, I'm not going to say that. And my favourite curse word that I really like, I don't actually say because... well, my favourite word's a C word, but I don't like saying that word.
No, we know what it is. Yeah, country. So, what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
An entrepreneur.
Yeah?
No, yes.
Any specific...
A successful one.
So a happy one?
A happy, successful, rich entrepreneur phoning this in from a private island.
Right.
Would be good.
Live via satellite.
No, you don't get live via satellite, you get a delay.
Ash, last of the Lipton 6, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I'm not religious in any way, shape or form. But if it does exist, and I end up there, and go to the pearly gates, I'd like them to say, Hawk said you were coming.
Yeah. You got a match in 5.
Yeah, you don't expect that too. Oh yeah, and you're right, matching 5 versing Hawk. Oh no.
Yeah. Just hands you your just hands you your gear bag, you're late. Alright, this is the segment of the podcast. Before we hit the nitrous into overdrive, before we slam on that petrol button, Vin Diesel style, and we drive our way to that finish line, right up into the sunset, I'm going to hit you with what I call the final 4. These are the last 4 questions of the podcast before we wrap it up. So you ready for these final 4?
Am I allowed to answer with the same word for every single one?
You can't use the C word.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Oh, there goes everything.
Yeah.
I've had a bourbon.
Ash, was there ever a point that you thought, hey, this isn't going to work. I'm not sure about this. This might not be for me.
Yes.
Yeah. Was that in the wrestling?
Second match after being Pepe the Clown.
Really? You were just like, I don't know if I want to...
This sucks, I hate this.
From a character aspect or from a...
From the character perspective, yeah.
Okay.
I really hate as a clown.
Right.
It's not me. I'm not a happy, jovial person. Unless I'm drunk.
Yeah. Now, have you ever stopped and taken a moment and thought, even times when you're in the ring, or maybe even in your personal life, have you ever stopped and thought, man, how the hell did I get here?
If you don't think that occasionally, you're a bit stupid.
Right.
But it's you got to. I'd say when I equivalent first time I actually thought, what the hell's going on, was one of the shows we did at Trocadero in Brisbane.
Okay.
I was using a local band called King Mungie as my entrance music.
Right.
I've done the show. After the show, I went to the... because it was held in a nightclub / bar.
Yeah.
Got changed in my civvies. I still had my face paint on because I couldn't be bothered taking it off. I've gone back to get a drink, and as I'm going to buy myself a drink, this person goes, "No, man, it's on me." And I sort of looked and I said, "Who the hell are you?" And he goes, "We're King Mungie." It was the bands that I'm using as the music.
Oh,
but
wow.
they're in the night. You use our music. That was awesome. I said, "Yeah, no worries, man." And the thing is, I'd actually gotten them to sign off on me being able to use their music.
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, wow, this is a trip," because I actually never thought I'd ever actually sort of, because they lived next door to a guy I knew.
Yeah.
And he's the one that basically suggested, "Try this song." And it was a good song. It was Something Nothing by King Mungie.
Yep.
Yeah, and he's the one that actually gave all the paperwork to get signed permission, and then 3 months later I'm in a nightclub, do a show, and the bands that I use, their song, were in the crowd.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's
sort of like...
that is a trippy moment. Yeah. Currently, either personally or professionally, what is your proudest moment or achievement?
Seeing people that I've trained go further and go on.
Yeah.
Not going to say, "Oh, this person, that person," but seeing one particular individual who's gone on to do what they've done. That's awesome. Other people I've trained who have gone on further and have gone to the States to do training, to continue on, to learn more.
Yeah.
You go, "That's awesome, that's sweet, I love that." But yeah, that's the thing when you sit there and go, "Hey, I remember training that person.
Sure.
I remember doing this," or that person's gone on, whether they go to they go to New Japan, or they go to the Fal Dojo, or they go here, go there. To people who have gone on beyond what you can do. Because realistically, I started too late. And when I started, there wasn't the chance or the ability to do what you can do now.
Sure, yeah.
So the people who can go on further and make something of themselves in this. Booyah.
Yeah. And the last question. Looking back at when you started, back in 1999, starting this journey, did you ever think at that age, looking forward and thinking at this age, did you ever think that this is where you'd be?
No, I thought I would have been well done with this stuff long before.
Really?
Like, originally I thought, I'll give it a couple of years.
Yeah.
Then a couple more. And then I've been here a decade and a half, 2 decades. And at some point I'm thinking, why the hell am I still here? And then the last 2 matches I've had, to have people turn around and go, "Geez, you're moving like a 20-year-old in the ring." I'm like, well, I'm more than twice a 20-year-old. Like, for those that know, I'm 45.
Right.
I turned 46 this year.
Yep.
I'm old, I'm decrepit, I'm grumpy, and I will not bump for you unless you earn it. Plain and simple. If I think okay, you want to bump, okay, that's one off. Like, my bump card's nearly full.
Yeah.
Realistically, I don't know how much longer I got doing this. I'd love to be able to keep doing this forever, because it's so much fun.
It is.
But you can't. Your body can't take it.
Yep.
Now, gone are the days of being in my 20s, doing a show, taking stupid bumps and landing on the floor, bouncing off a wall, bouncing off a car, and the next day you get up and go, "Oh, I'm a bit stiff, but I'm sweet," and keep going.
Yeah.
Now I found if I do a training session that's a bit hard, I can't walk the next day.
Right.
I do less in the ring, but I'm also doing more. And then when, like, I did that non-sanctioned match at CJ,
Yeah.
I couldn't walk properly for like 2 weeks.
Wow.
So my knees were that banged up.
Yep.
But at the same point, as I taught CJ, I like him. He's got promise, and he can go further if he wants. And he could. I think he's got it, and he's got like a good moveset and character and things like that. And as I said, I trained him a long time ago, and I like him. I used to go to the gym with him all the time.
Yep.
But I said, no, I went did that match with him, and I was banged up afterwards. I had bruises I didn't know I had places for.
Right.
And the bruising, the bruising and the bangs and the knacks and the crack, you take that as, well, it's going to happen. But when you get my age, the bruising lasts longer and the stiffness lasts longer, and the joints don't come back to the way they were. No, I can't move that way anymore. Like I've watched the match that I had, the non-sanctioned one, which is kendo sticks and chairs and get thrown around and stuff like that, which was well and good and fun. I had bruises in places I know I didn't get hit.
Right.
And it's, no, what the hell, why is that a potato? No? I'm not explaining a potato to those who don't know. But at the same point, he had potatoes and marks and stuff like that. We didn't hold back on each other, but at the same point, we knew where the line's drawn.
Yeah.
So, no. Any sort of advice to people who want to start this as a sport or a fun or a bit of an adventure? Learn your fundamentals, learn respect, learn how to fall down.
Yeah.
Don't expect what you do to be an absolute amazing shit show every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Matches are going to suck, opponents are going to suck, moves are going to suck. And if you beat yourself up over it, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
You try your best to, as Pete used to say, don't be shit.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know. I like what I do. I wish I could do it forever, but that's it. I'm getting long in the tooth, and recovery time takes longer now. I take less bumps. So if you're in a match against me and I take a lot of bumps, feel fucking privileged. Because I don't do it for a lot of fucking people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, was it the last 5 shows I've been in?
Mm-hmm.
I think I've taken 8 bumps.
Yeah.
I don't think I took the majority there in the match against CJ.
Right.
No, I took 2 against Chad, didn't I?
Think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, man, speaking of privileges, it's honestly, in the 12 years that I've known you, it's a privilege to know...
12 years?
Yeah, 2008. In the time that I've known you, it's a privilege to have you be one of my first trainers, one of the people that first took a chance on me. And it's a complete privilege and a complete honour for 12 years later to sit across from you and not only call you a friend, but call you a brother. And I love and respect everything you've done for me, and I thank you so much for coming here today and doing this podcast with me.
Enjoy the drunken ramblings of an old man. No, you asked, I came.
Yep.
You know, as I said, your family, man.
Alright, thank you so much, man.
That's all good.
Alright, you guys, that'll wrap it up for AsHe, IPW wrestling legend AsHe. Thank you all for listening to all 3 parts. Hey, if you haven't done so already and you're tuning in and skipping a few parts, what are you doing? Go back and listen to all 3 of them. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Make sure you subscribe on the socials. Little Man Big Conversation at LMBC Podcast. Next week, we have the heart and soul of IPW, Cruz. I'll see you next week.